So, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to all of our Mispakah. Welcome to our live stream. And just to give you today's lesson, I was going to combine it into one, but then I said, let me sleep on this. And through the night, it came to mind that this particular lesson deserves its own stage. So instead of condensing everything, I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. And I could have stretched this out even further, but we have many other lessons to cover. So what I want to do is let's get started. Just a little review. What makes it complicated? You're going to see this entire series. Proverbs, starting in chapter 3, verse 5, gives us a clue, or hones us in. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he make all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah. Turn away from evil. So the word understanding there, it's what we're not supposed to lean towards. We're supposed to acknowledge him, to know him in all your ways. We're not supposed to lean to our own understanding. If we want a more complete rendition of this, you have to go back and watch lesson 1 and 2. So because we're not going to, go back into that in detail. Here are just a few of the things that fuels your understanding. Feelings, emotions, thoughts, others, lust, desires, so forth, so on. We talked more about that in the previous videos. Then we were able to categorize things into a greatest command and then the command that comes after that. So the greatest command is, and you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, with all your might. And the second was to love your neighbors yourself. So do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. You should love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahuwah. So I was going to combine these two into one lesson. But as I started going through, I was like, no, the greatest command deserves its own stage, so people can understand and see this for themselves. So let's look at the process. I want you to keep this in mind. Whenever we're talking about commandments, there's a mind factor, thoughts and feelings. Then there's a manifestation in action. Okay? And if you look at what Matthew 5:28 says, this is what Mashiach said. But I say to you that everyone looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So that's the mind factor. Then there's the manifestation factor, or the action factor. Don't commit adultery. So one is seen, the action is seen, but what goes on in the mind can be unseen. Person might not see the indications of that. So we always have to remember there's something that can go in your mind, then there's an action. Okay, so now I found this quite interesting. So we're going to hone more in on the greatest command. And as I was thinking, I was like, man, I could have put a lesson together that could have took up the whole afternoon just on this one thing, showing examples and helping you to key in. But we're going to try to give you the sense. And what I want you to do is I need for you to really be honest with yourself. You know, when we start going through this, is this where I am? Is this a representation of me? Or am I lacking? And there are some things I really need to revamp and revisit. Because a lot of people, you know, they talk about change, but they change the wrong things. They don't change the essential things that are key components to what the Father is after. They change what they think is necessary. So we've definitely got to make sure that we're doing this thing according to the Father. And some of this might, for some of us, it could be shocking. So let's look at this. And this is from the scripture 2009. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart. Okay, that's the mind. With all your being, soul, or sometimes it's translated soul. And with all your might. Now that might there, we're going to get a different understanding for that wealth. And if you look at the Targums validate, you know, that it's not talking about muscles or anything like that, because that's what most people think about when they think about might. Okay, in the Targum, it says, and you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your mind, with all your being, with all your possessions. Okay, and I put a note down here just so you can reference it, that both of the Targums do say your possessions. And even in the Syriac Peshitta also reflects this Targumic tradition by translating it the same way. Okay, so possessions. It's going to get quite interesting as we go along. Now, when we first let's talk about the word love. Now, I'm not here to give you a lecture on love, but I'm here to just help you understand from a Hebraic perspective what love is. Because love is abstract in the English language. People say, I love you, and use the word love so loosely. And then their actions don't validate what they're saying. So there has to be something different than what we've been taught. You know, because in our language, which is derived, you know, comes from a lot of the Greek, it's very abstract, but Hebrew is concrete. And you'll see this as we're going along. So the word there is AHAB, to have affection for, sexually or otherwise. Now, I looked it up in the etymological dictionary of the biblical Hebrew. It's on page 4. AHAB, devote completely to another. Then there was a very good article. He just recently passed away. His name is Brad Scott. And I like what he had to say, because he sums it up for us about the word love and how Hebrew is compared to Greek. And this is one of the things that I'm advocating to you. AHAB, or love, is a choice. It's a decision that you make. So I want you to just listen to this. In Hebrew thought, AHAB, or love, is based on the idea of preference or choice. It is not an emotional concept. Okay, I want you to say that again with me. It is not an emotional concept. When Yahweh said that he loved Yaakov and hated Jacob, he meant that he chose Yaakov and did not choose Jacob. Yaakov and did not choose Esau. When Yahuwah in Bereshit 22 said he loved Isaac or Yitzhak, he meant that he preferred Yitzhak. Love and hate are not emotional concepts in scriptural thinking. When Yahusha said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments, he was saying that if you have chosen me, or if you prefer me, then do what I say. When he said that men love the darkness rather than the light, he was saying that men prefer or choose darkness over light. In a Hebrew betrothal, the father chooses his son's bride. When vows are spoken, the son and the bride choose each other. In the commandments, it is written that you are to love Yahuwah, your Elohim, you are to prefer Yahuwah, your Elohim. This is directly related to the first two commandments that state that you are to have no other mighty ones before him. It is a matter of choice. In the Greek culture, emotion is solicited first, then commitment. Emotion must be sustained or the commitment fails. Why? Because it began with emotion. In Hebrew thought, emotion is a result of commitment. So, in a nutshell, many of us have these commandments sitting before us. And just like it said, choose this day whom you will serve. What do many do? They choose not to serve. They choose to go the other way. All of this is a choice. You see where he told you what to eat and what not to eat. Well, you can build up your emotions and say, I don't believe he said that, and you can get all emotional. But his commandment is not emotional based. It's a choice based. He said it. Either you're going to follow it, choose to do it, or not to do it. The choice is yours. Doesn't have to be all wrapped up in emotion. He said it. Either you believe it or not. And this is what you see taking place. People are choosing what they want. When a person goes down a certain path, most of the time they have all the information to make the right choice, but they choose to go down a different path. So, that's why he said, lean not to your own understanding. See, feelings and emotions can be all over the place. One day you can love me, the next day you can hate me. But if it's true love, you choose to be a certain way all the time. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's talk about the three areas of AHAB. Here are your three plateaus that you have to worry about, that he's asked you to do when it comes to loving him, choosing to follow him, choosing the things of him. Your heart, mind, your being, soul, your might, which is your wealth of possessions. So let's take a close examination at ourselves and assess where we are. So let's look at the heart, the mind. Okay, now, You know, many people will in this one particular area will go off track, because this is where we're starting. This is going to feed everything else. This is going to program everything else. Okay, Deuteronomy 4:29. But from there you shall seek Yahweh, your Elohim, and shall find, when you search for him with all your heart, with all your being. Now, my question is this, because you find him when you search with all of your mind, all your being. How much of you have you dedicated toward the search to find him? Okay, and when I'm talking about finding him, a lot of people love to go to videos and watch videos, and that's well and good. But you got to get in the trenches. You got to do some reading. You got to do some studying. You got to do some praying, some meditation. I mean, it's just not simple. You think, okay, I'm pray for 15 minutes a day and I'm good. Oh, I read 2 scriptures this morning, I'm good. This is a whole mindset. Look at people that accelerate in different areas. They're dedicated towards it. Any moment that they can find to get in a little extra, boom, they're doing it. So you got to examine, where do you fall when it comes to this? The seeking part. Or are you seeking money, security? What is your pet peeve? But all of that you'll find in him. Okay, Jeremiah 29 verse 13. And you shall seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart, all your mind. How much does he occupy of your thought process? How much does he occupy of your decision-making process? How much does he occupy in your life overall? Have you set him up as all in all in your life? Or is he just a go-to when you need him? As long as things going smooth, no hard times, you're good. But see, you got to seek him with all your mind. This is very important. Joel 2, verse 12. Yet even now, declare Yahuwah, turn to me with all your heart. Now look at how they're turning. With fasting, with weeping, with mourning. Okay, Deuteronomy 5, verse 29. Oh, that they had such a heart in them to fear me, to guard all my commands always, so that it might be well with them and with their children forever. This is, so I'm very scared to have an opinion. And what I mean an opinion, you tell people, well, the word of Elohim says this. But when they're saying it, they're giving their opinion. They're not saying what it says, because they've let all those things that we talk about that can influence your understanding influence it. Because I can take you to a couple of scriptures a lot of people struggle with. But we're going to say that for another lesson. Okay, now I want to read this. The heart of mind forgets. This is what it means for you to forget. Deuteronomy 8, verse 11. Be on guard lest you forget Yahweh your Elohim. Now, how do you forget? By not guarding his commands and his right rulings and his laws, which I command you today. Lest you eat and shall be satisfied, and build lovely homes and shall dwell in them. Your herds and your flocks increase, your silver and your gold are increased, and all that you have is increased. That your heart then becomes lifted up, and you forget Yahuwah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the house of bondage, who led you through the great and awesome wilderness, fiery serpents and scorpions and thirst, where there was no water, who brought water for you out of the flinty rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, in order to humble you and to try you, to do you good in the end. You then shall say in your heart, my power and the strength of my hand have made for me this wealth. But you shall remember Yahuwah your Elohim, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, in order to establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is today. So, I'm just curious now. Have you forgotten? Because when you stop guarding these commands and right rulings, see, the right rulings throw a lot of people off. Because even in right rulings, what are you supposed to do? You know, there's supposed to be 2-3 witnesses to establish every word. But that doesn't always happen. Okay, in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. Now Israel, what is Yahuwah your Elohim asking of you? So what is he asking of you? What does Yahuwah want from you? Well, bam, he put it right here. To fear Yahuwah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, to love him, to serve Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. To guard the commands of Yahuwah and his law, which I command you today for your good. See, the heavens and the heavens of heavens belong to Yahuwah your Elohim. Also the earth, which all that is in it. Yahuwah delight only in your fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, you above all peoples, as it is today. And you shall circumcise the foreskin of your heart, and harden not your neck no more. Or don't be stiff-necked or stubborn. Okay, so let's go on to the next. Your soul or being, nefesh. Now, what I found out when this is used as a adverb, no, that was another one. Okay, we'll see through this that it's talking about appetite for where it's applicable for us. Okay, Genesis 27:19. Yaakov said to his father, and Esau, your firstborn, I have done as you have said. Please rise, sit, and eat my wild game, so that your soul might bless me. I put that one there, but there's some other ones that are a little better. Genesis 34, verse 3. And his being, or soul, clung to Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov. And he loved the girl and spoke kindly to her. So his appetite, his desire, that's what he wanted. And we're actually going to see some places where nefesh is actually translated as appetite. Exodus 15:9, the enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil. My being is satisfied with them. I draw out my sword and my hand destroys them. So think of it like a meal. You know, we all have our favorite foods. And when we eat and we have our favorite food, it's so satisfying when you finish and you're full. Okay, so you have a desire, you have a taste for it. But you don't have a taste for everything. If I said Brussels sprouts, some of us be, Brussels sprouts. You know, just like I'm not one, I'm not big on turnips. I don't really like turnips. So if you put turnips in front of me, it's gonna be like, okay, you can have as many as you like. I'm just gonna look at them because I don't have an appetite for turnips. So you've got to see, do you have an appetite for his commands, or do you turn away and not eat? Because remember, his word, what? It talks about his word. Man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out the mouth of Elohim. So his word is like bread. And you have to have an appetite for this. You have to want this. Some people don't want it. They don't have an appetite for righteousness. Okay, Leviticus 26:14. If you do not obey me and do not do all these commandments, and if you reject my law, and if your soul or being loathes or abhors my right rulings, so that you do not do all my commands, but break my covenant, I also do this to you. And I shall appoint certain alarm over you, wasting disease, inflammation, destroying the eyes, and consuming the life. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemy shall eat it. Now I like what the ESV, but I put the scripture here too, which is the top one on Deuteronomy 14:26. Listen to it. For you shall use silver for whatever your soul desire, your being desires. For cattle, for sheep, for wine or strong drink, for whatever your being desires. And you shall eat there before Yahweh Elohim, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. Now in the ESV it reads, and spend the money on whatever you desire, oxen, sheep, or wine or strong drink, whatever your appetite craves, you shall eat there before Yahweh Elohim, and rejoice, you and your household. Okay, listen, in Proverbs 6:30, they do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he is starving. So appetite can cause you to do things. So my question is, what is your appetite after? What is it fixated on? Now I know what they try to do to us in the modern world. They try to get us hooked on sugar, hooked on caffeine, hooked on all these things that are not good for us. In the other realm, they try to get us hooked on unrighteousness. They try to get us hooked on different things like pornography, pervertedness, and opportunity will come where you have the choice to tell the truth or tell a lie. What's your appetite? Well, if your appetite is a lie, that's what you're gonna take. That's what you're gonna partake of. If it's the truth, then you'll partake of truth. Proverbs 13:25. The righteous has enough to satisfy his appetite, but the belly of the wicked suffer want. So appetite is a powerful thing. And that's one of the things that can drive us. And if you look at Scripture, Scripture is a menu telling you what you need to adjust your appetite for. Because when you're eating this word and you're ingesting it, it should change you. It will change you. If you're eating the whole roll, you can't pick and choose what you want. It's what he's written. That's what we're after. Okay, let's talk a little bit about might or wealth, miod. Now, this one, this is the one I was talking about when it's in the adverb form. Now, in the etymological dictionary of biblical Hebrew, you'll find it means have resources, fortune, tell means. And then in the complete word study dictionary of the Old Testament, this term is used 300 times in the Old Testament, or the Tanakh, mainly as an adverb. Infrequently, it is used as a substantive. So it's talking about wealth, substance, because your abundance, that's what it's relating to, and we're going to see some examples. Okay, Genesis 24:35, and Yahweh has blessed my master exceedingly, and he has become great. Now look what it names. And he has given him flocks and herds and silver, gold, and male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. Genesis 30:43. Thus the man increased very much or greatly. And it talk about physical substance. It had many flocks and females and male servants and camels and donkeys. Then Zechariah 14:14. And Yehuda shall fight at Jerusalem as well, and the wealth of the nations round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and garments in great quantities. Okay? So when we talk about this, some people get uncomfortable because the question arises, what are you using your possessions for? Yes, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy your possessions. What's the purpose behind him giving you possessions? Doesn't he give you possessions and stuff because he's establishing his covenant in the earth, and you should be using it towards his covenant? Or have you forgotten that that's one of the things he's calling for? He wants you to love him with all your heart, your being, and your possessions. So that means your possessions are at his disposal to do his bidding, to do his purpose. That's why he gives certain commands that you're not supposed to glean the corners of your field. That's why because that's there to bless the poor, to bless those that are less fortunate. He gives commands about if a Hebrew brother or sister sell themselves to you, how you're supposed to treat them. And then at the end of that servitude, he tells you how to bless them when they go out, to give them a portion of what you have. What you have, bless them. And then he bestows even more on you. But what has happened now, one thing, not everybody's on the same sheet of music. Okay? Everybody's dancing to their own tune. So of course, their possessions they're not going to use for his purpose. Everything's centralized. It's all about me and what I got and where I'm going. Well, if someone's on the same sheet of music, because I can't use my possessions to help you if you're not upholding his commandments. If you're in sin, I can't use them for that. But it's designed for his purpose, to help and bless others. But in the helping and bless, people want handouts. But me helping you could be me showing you how to acquire. Because if I give you something and then you don't know how to be a good steward, it'll be gone before you know it. But if I show you how to obtain, walk you through the process, and then once you walk through the process and you understand how it works, give you a little to be a steward over, then you take that little and grow it. See, but many people just want you to helicopter it to them. They don't want to do nothing for it. They just want handouts. But this is not what that's about. But you're supposed to love him with all your might, your possessions, your wealth. Now, we're going to look at a story, because this story is mentioned as being one of the pinnacles of love in action, where the heart, the soul or being, and the might is all demonstrated in this story. It's a fantastic story. So let's go to it. So we're over in 2 Kings 22nd chapter. Okay, and we're going to be reading about Josiah or Yoshiyahu. Okay, and you can see here he came to reign when he was 8 years old. And then they tell you he did that was right in the eyes of Yahweh and walked in all his ways, in all the ways of his father David, Dawood, and did not turn aside to the left or right. So when we're looking at this story, you'll see where all these elements are present. And what he does. Okay, let's start here in the 4th verse. Go up to Yahweh, the high priest, and let him weigh the silver which has been brought into the house of Yahweh, which the doorkeepers have gathered from the people. Now he could have kept that for himself. And let them give it into the hands of those doing the work, who are the overseers of the house of Yahweh. And let them give it to those who are in the house of Yahweh doing the work, to strengthen the breach of the house, to the carpenters, to the builders, to the stonemasons, to buy timber and hew stones to strengthen the house. However, let not the silver given into their hands be reckoned with them, for they are acting trustworthily. Okay, so you can see he had a love for the Father's house. Okay, and it's not just a love that was talk. See, many people can talk about, oh, I love community, I love the assembly, I love this, but that's all they doing is talk, because you don't see anything being manifest behind it. Okay, then go on to verse 8. Then Hilkiyahu the high priest said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the Torah in the house of Yahweh. Hilkiyahu gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan the scribe came to the sovereign, brought the word to the sovereign again, saying, Your servant have gathered the silver that was found in the house, and have given it into the hand of those who do the work, who oversee the house of Yahweh. And Shaphan the scribe informed the sovereign, saying, Hilkiah the priest has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the sovereign. And it came to be, when the sovereign heard the words of the book of the Torah, that he tore his garments. And the sovereign commanded Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam, son of Shaphan, and Akbor, son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah, a servant of the sovereign, saying, Go inquire. Now, remember we talked about that seek thing? Do you remember that? Seeking with all your heart. Go inquire of Yahuwah for me, for the people and all Yehudah, concerning the words of this book that has been found. For great is the wrath of Yahuwah that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not obeyed the word of this book, to do according to all that is written concerning us. Then Hilkiyahu the priest, and Ahikam, and Akbor, and Shaphan, and Asaiah went to Hudah, the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, son of Kikwa, son of Haras, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she was dwelling in Jerusalem in the 2nd quarter. And they spoke with her, and she said to them, Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, say to the man who sent you to me, Thus saith Yahuwah, see, I am bringing evil on this place and on its inhabitants, all the words of the book which the sovereign of Yehudah has read, because they have forsaken me, burned incense to other mighty ones, to provoke me with all the works of their hands. And so my wrath shall be kindled against this place and not be quenched. And the sovereign of Yehuda, who sent you to inquire of Yahweh, say this to him, thus saith Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, as for the words which you have heard, because your heart was tender, and you humbled yourself before Yahuwah, when you heard what I spoke against this place and against its inhabitants, that they would become ruin and a curse, and did tear your garments and weep before me, I also have heard, declared Yahuwah. Therefore, see, I am gathering you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered to your burial site in peace, so that your eyes do not see all the evil I bring on this place. And they brought word to the sovereign. Now, I want to go back to this little. First, he sought him. He didn't just disregard what was written. See, this is one of the things that people do. You know, you'll see something written very plain, then they'll just disregard it. Oh, he didn't mean that. Oh, that ain't for me. And you got to ask yourself, what kind of love are you showing for the Father when he's telling you how to live, giving you guidance, giving you instruction? And because something emotionally impacts you, you know, you in disagreement with it. Does that make sense? No, because remember, love is a choice. Do you prefer his commandments or choose his commandments or not? I don't argue with people anymore. You know, people want to do their own thing. I just go do your own thing. Do you, man, do you. Because it's too late in the hour now to get sidetracked with people that don't want to serve him anyway. Remember, we discussed last week, who is your mother and your brother? Some of us still haven't got that. It's they that do the will of the Father. If you weren't there for this last week, then you need to go back and watch that video. Okay? And we've got to remember, it's a choice. You can't force this. I don't care how much you pray, the person or persons still have to choose to want to live this. There's no forcing, you know. So if you're seeing they don't want to choose this way, distribute your resources and times with someone that does. Why are you wasting your time? Because what it's going to do is it's just going to sidetrack you. It's going to bog you down. Okay? So let's go to the 23rd chapter. Because we've got to read this. Because if you're saying that you love him and want to serve him, okay, you've got to sideline the emotions and let's get to work on what he's told us to do and what he's commanded. Sideline the opinions, all that good stuff. Okay, And the sovereign sent, and they gathered all the elders of Yehuda and Jerusalem to him. And the sovereign went to the house of Yahweh with all the men of Yahweh and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant, which had been found in the house of Elohim, the house of Yahuwah. And the sovereign stood by the column and made a covenant before Yahuwah to follow Yahuwah and to guard his commands and his witness and his laws with all his heart and all his being, to establish the word of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. Then the sovereign commanded Hilkiyahu, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the doorkeepers, to bring out of the call of Yahuwah all the objects that were made for Baal and for Ashtoreth and for all the host of heaven. Look at all of this stuff that was in the Father's house. And he burned them outside Jerusalem in the field of Kidron, and took their ashes to Bethel. And he put down the black-robed priest, which the sovereigns of Yehuda had appointed to burn incense on the high places in the city of Yehuda, in places all around Jerusalem, and those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, to the constellations, and to all the host of heavens. And he brought out the Ashtoreth from the house of Yahuwah to the Wadi Kidron outside Jerusalem, and burned it at the Wadi Kidron, and grounded its ashes, and threw its ashes on the burial sites of the sons of the people. And he broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes that were in the house of Yahuwah, where the women wove tapestry for Ashtoreth. And he brought all the priests from the cities of Yahuwah and the defiled high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and broke down the high places at the gates, which were at the entrance of the gate of Yehoshua, the governor of the city, which were on the left of the city gate. However, the priest of the high places did not come up to the solid place of Yahuwah in Jerusalem, but they did eat unleavened bread among their brethren. He defiled Tophath, which is in the valley of the sons of Hanan, so that no man could make his son or daughter pass through the fire of Molech. And he did away with the horses that the sovereign of Yehuda had given to the sun at the entrance to the house of Yahuwah by the room of Nathan Melech, the eunuch, which were in the court. And he burned the chariots of the sun with fire. The solid places that were on the roof of the upper room of Hazah, which the sovereign of Yehuda had made, the solid places which Manasseh had made in the two courtyards of the house of Yehuda, the sovereign broke down, rushed from there, and threw their dust into the Wadi Kidron. Man, he wasn't playing, was he? The sovereign defiled the high place that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mountain of destruction, which Shlomo, sovereign of Israel, built for the Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Sidonians, for the Chemosh and abomination of the Moabites, and for the Milcom, the abominations of the children of Ammon. He broke into pieces the pillar and cut down the Ashtarim, and filled their place with the bones of men. So he was not joking, was he? Okay, and let's go on down and read a little bit about the Passover, as time is catching up with us. And the sovereign commanded all the people, saying, prepare the Pesach of Yahweh, your Elohim, as is written in the book of the covenant. For such a Pesach has not been prepared since the day of the rulers who ruled Israel, nor in all the days of the sovereign of Israel and the sovereigns of Yehuda, but in the 18th year of the sovereign Yoshiyahu, this Pesach was prepared before Yahweh in Jerusalem, and all Yoshiyahu put away all who consulted mediums and spiritualists and the household mighty ones and idols and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Yehuda and Jerusalem, in order to establish the word of Torah, which are written in the house that Hilkiyahu the priest found in the house of Yahuwah. And for him there was no sovereign like him, who turned back to Yahuwah with all his heart and with all his being and with all his might. Hallelujah. According to all the Torah, Moshe, after him none rose up like him. Now, notice what they used verbatim, the exact verse that you see in Deuteronomy 6. How he turned back with all his heart, with all his being, with all his might. He used his substance. He used his heart, his mind. When he heard this word, nothing deterred him. He turned Jerusalem and Yehuda upside down, getting the abomination out of it. Now, I ask you, you see his action. When you heard this Torah, did you turn your life upside down? Or did you just continue to let stuff slip through the cracks? And then before you know it, you're back to your same old state. This is what it's all about. It's not playtime. You need to take a look at the world around you. I posted a video on the website, mylivingbranch.org. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it, because stuff is right on us. It's coming down the pipeline. And you need to know. And you need to make sure that your mind is made up. Because no matter what happens, if you don't love him like he says, all your heart, all your being, all your might, you're going to be in a pickle. Because it's going to be some tough decisions for you to make. And your understanding is going to influence you more if you don't love him like you're supposed to. Okay, and then, however, Yahuwah did not turn from the fierceness of his great wrath, with which his wrath burned against Yehuda, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. And Yahuwah said, even Yehuda I shall remove from my presence, as I have removed Israel. And I shall reject the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house which I said, my name is there. And of course, he scattered us to the four corners. All of us are scattered. So my suggestion is for you to go back, really look at yourself. You know, when he talks about you're supposed to, the first commandment, and we haven't even gotten into the breakdown of that. Because remember, every commandment is branching out from these. And you'll be able to see it. But next week, we got to work on the second command. And then we'll start to branch out so that you can see this thing. This is no joke. The world is changing. It's never going back to how it was. The agendas are rolling for what they're almost seem like now they're starting to fast track things. So if you haven't ripped your heart and, you know, really sought him like you're supposed to, now's the time. Because when stuff starts going down, you know, and destruction is upon us, it'll be a little late to start saying, I'm going to rip my heart now. So we're going to leave that one right there. And trust me, I could have put together so much more. But I know, you know, time is limited. And, you know, so I wanted to give you just what you needed, the essentials. You know, so that you can do what you need to do. So the original design, Torah is simple, really simple, but we insist on complicating. It's a choice. Either you're gonna follow it or not. Can't follow half or follow 99%. You gotta embrace it all. Look what I had already put in the slide. This was the first lesson, the choice. And Yahweh Elohim took the man, put him in the garden to work and to guard it. It can be complicated or it can be simple. Choice is yours. I'm planning on making it simple. What he said, that's what I'm following. Not going to get caught up with, you know, self-righteousness or any of the other things that people propagate. It's just time to make a choice, and it's time to press forward, seek his face, and watch him move. So let's pray, Mispakah. Father, I pray for my Mispakah, both far and near, all those that are scattered to the four corners. Father, help us to see your love in a different light. Help us to understand how love is a choice. And as Mashiach said, if you love me, keep my commandments. That we see it, we choose to obey or not to obey. We choose to serve or not to serve. Father, I pray that you continually touch our mind and hearts and strengthen that choice in us to follow your commandments. Strengthen it in us that we not be deterred in any way. Strengthen that choice in us to obey every word that you've commanded, to obey your voice, to obey your instructions, to obey your right rulings. Father, I give you praise now for every person that will make a choice and stand by it this day. In the name of Mashiach Yahusha, Hallel to Yahuwah. Amen. All right, Miss Bakah, it has been a joy. So, Hebrew Passover story, Hebrew 10 Commandments. Guess what? It's going to be here before you know it. Need tools for your children to teach and train them? This is it. Just go to Amazon, search for the titles, and they'll pop right up. And if you would like to be a part of our book market witnessing team, you certainly can. Just go to our website, bm.hebrewfoundation.org. You can also check out our bookstore. And if you would like to support us in our efforts, you can do it online. There's a donation button right there in this live stream. Cash App, PayPal, use our mailing address. Whatever is easier for you. If you have questions, you can always email me at info@mylivingbranch.org. I have no problem answering questions. Just remember, sometimes I might send you back to where you're doing the searching, and I'll give you direction. Because a lot of times, many people just want you to helicopter them where they need to go. But this you need to walk it out. You need to learn. You need to pursue it. You need to seek it. And that I can't do for you. But I can show you where you need to go. All right, Ms. Bakar, this is Morey Medea Yahoo saying unto you, Shabbat Shalom. Don't forget, we have our afternoon stream at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Morey Yesharon. He'll be teaching today, so make sure you check him out and support. And we appreciate you. So let's make this the best Shabbat ever. Shabbat Shalom, Ms. Bakar.